Welcome back to your Nego channel. Alright guys, I'm so excited to be doing this movie review for you guys, and hopefully I can get this posted by either Friday or Saturday. Probably Saturday, just like I'm looking at my timeline. But yeah, so I'm so excited to be doing this review for you guys. I mean, as you guys all know, this movie In the Heights is pretty much an all Latino cast. It's a musical. It's a beautiful, like a really exciting movie to kind of get yourself into. Just because again, I don't think we've never seen something like this before. Just like a full Latino cast in a musical, and I'm like, this is so beautiful and so everything. So I'm very excited to be doing this movie review for you guys, and let's just go ahead and begin. All right, so just so I can get this out the way. Please do not judge me here. I'm going to say this. This movie is a musical. I understand this. I completely get this, okay? I understand that this was originally written as a musical, but I didn't like the musical aspect. Which is why, for me, the rating of this movie, if you're gonna ask me, gets an 8 out of 10. Because and I know what you're thinking. You're like, Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote this, honey. Like you can't not like it, the musical aspect. And I'm like, but here's the thing, keep in mind that he wrote this before he wrote Hamilton, so his like creativity, like composing style is different. Like, you can still feel like a lot of the beats, a lot of the rhythm is the same, are very similar to a lot of the songs in Hamilton. The way he talks, the way he created the songs, again, very similar to how he wrote. I mean, it's almost the same thing. A lot of the times you're like, you can like, I see how Hamilton came to be. But the thing with In the Heights, though, it was just like, unlike Hamilton, I didn't come out of it being like, I want to sing all the music. I want this to be like, I want to do like my own musical number. On the contrary, there's not, to be honest, there's not like a single song in that whole In the Heights that like really stuck out to me. Is because each song he wrote is very individualized to each character. And so it's not like I can be like, I can feel like I can relate to something, you know, versus Hamilton, like, you know, there are moments where he's just like, I took a what is it? It's like, I want to be in the room where it happens, the room where it happens. Like, you just be like, I want to, like, you just like, you feel that, you're like, oh my gosh. And then you're just like, I will never be satisfied. He will never, like, you can feel all that. And again, and on top of that, he references a lot of the, look at my dog, a lot of the things that he references, like, in the music, and as like, you know, the, sorry, my hair is being annoying right now. A lot of things that he references in like the movies and in the songs themselves, they like in the second act of Hamilton, they come back, and so you feel like it's more unified versus In the Heights, where it's a little bit different. And again, not my vibe, which again, I didn't really like it. Certain musicals, I have to, like, I'm very different. Like, I'm not a big musical fan, so maybe this is why like I wasn't a big fan of that aspect. Maybe you, like, if you're like a big musical person, you're gonna be like, I love it, but I just wasn't a big fan of that aspect. Everything else was amazing. If you're a Latino, if you're a child of immigrants, it doesn't necessarily have to be Latino. I feel like you can relate to this movie so much, and that's what I loved about this movie. There's a lot of moments that you're just kind of there, and again, unless your family, someone you know, has experienced these moments, you're not gonna get them when you kind of are supposed to get them. So again, I'm gonna try and avoid like major spoilers, but I think this may be a kind of semi spoiler. So, by the way, it's like spoilers. I'm gonna try to avoid major spoilers, by the way. But there's, so the main character Usnavi, which, can we just talk? Okay, that's like, again, if you're Latino, you're gonna get how funny that is. Maybe never get too, like, just because like I'm just mostly referencing that, like, oh, si sonribo, o son night. Do you guys know, like, I mean, I think we've all heard that joke where like the rhythm of the night, where like the guy calls, he's like, I want the ribo go so nice. So they're like, the Rebo goes so nice, or the Rebo goes so nice song. What are you talking about? And he's like, are you talking about this one? It says the rhythm of the night. And then they're like, yeah, the Rebo goes so nice. And you're just dying. So when his name, Usnavi, comes from the U.S. Navy, that was so fun. I think, we're just like, that is such a Latino thing to do. So I totally love that. So when his cousin Sonny, like, and you find out that he's an illegal immigrant, and the way you find out is not even like, he doesn't tell you. And again, no, so the first time you actually will find out is when his dad, which turns out to be Mark Anthony, we'll get into that in a little bit, when his dad tells Usnavi, he's like, you realize that you pay Sunny cash. Did you ever wonder why? And again, unless you're an immigrant, unless you have dealt with that, you're not gonna get that reference. You're just gonna sit there and be like, what is like it's gonna pass you by. And so I love that they had like these moments that, again, not everyone's gonna understand, but then when you watch this movie again, if you don't understand kind of what's going on, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, that was the significance of this moment. And that's probably why Mark Anthony is doing this particular scene, because Mark Anthony did not sing. Okay, so in case you somehow found out that Mark Anthony was gonna be in the Heights, I didn't know he's gonna be in the Heights prior to watching the film to the movie. But in case you're like, no, that is the one. And see, that's why it lost the point because of music, and then second, it lost another point for me because Mark Anthony did not sing a single song. I'm like, you could have sang something. So that was just the only thing. That like I said, it was a very small like detail that had nothing to do. So I love that. I love the Spanglish in the movie. Again, so when you immigrate, whether it's Spanish or your own language, you are going to be like mixing the words. There are a lot of words that in actually there's a lot of words that in English I know, but I don't know how to say in Spanish. And there are some words that weirdly enough, like in Spanish I know, but I don't know how to say in English. Like, I'm like, how do I say that? So it's really cool to just kind of have like that melding. Like that would have loved. I mean, Lin-Manuel, like if you guys have ever seen him do like an interview in Spanish, you'll know that he does even his like he's like definitely towards like the English side, which again most like first generation immigrants are. So like it's kind of funny that I'm like, I would have loved a little bit more Spanish in the musical, but hey, I did like that a lot of the times when he what was it? It wasn't Sueñito. There was another like song that he's explaining. He's just when he writes a song about alabamos. I think it's alabamos. Oh my gosh, alabamos, alabans. Wow, the word will be here. Okay, because I'm trying to remember my Spanish Catholic, but again, I have not gone to church in a really long time, so I'm just like, yeah, how does alabemos? And without getting too much into that, so I'm just like, I'm trying to remember. And so he goes in the song, he's like, this is what this means, and he describes it, and I'm like, I love that you're doing this. Again, it's because he's not only targeting Latinos or immigrants or anything like that. He's ideally targeting bringing people into our culture, bringing people into what it was like to grow up in Washington Heights, what it was like to grow up in America as probably not even a first generation, fifth generation. He's bringing in all the generations. He's like, well, mostly first generation immigrants than anything. Like, first generation immigrants, because he talks about like students. I loved the different paths that he shows of everyone in the community. He has the girl who goes into college, which coming like literally being a very recent college graduate and going to a predominantly white school, you couldn't help but be like, wow, I was not alone. So I'm not the only one who's noticed these things. Okay, so it was beautiful to kind of like be seen in that aspect. So he brings that perspective. He brings the perspective of like, not girls, but like people who didn't go to college, who kind of stayed in the community, who stayed there and who like built the community and just kind of grew in the community. You know, he shows not only like the beautiful romanticized version of Washington Heights, he also kind of shows like the reality of it. You know, we leave Sonny just like not knowing what his future holds. We leave a lot of the characters not necessarily knowing where they go or what they're gonna do in the future. And again, it's a beautiful story. And that was the thing. I'm like, this is such a great story. This is a story that right now, with the political climate, with the significance and everything that's going on, I'm like, it's a story that needs to be told. It's a story that I love. Again, being a daughter of immigrants, being a Latina, I'm so happy to see this movie. And I'm just like there were moments when I was like, I feel like I could actually breathe. There's just sometimes when you're growing up in America, again, being a Latina, being a first generation times, and it's kind of, I didn't grow up in a beautiful community like Washington Heights where like everyone was Latinos, and they're like, I actually got the beautiful aspect of in a melting pot where people had been like, again, generations have been, so it was like a little bit different. It was a lot, I grew up a little bit differently. So it was sometimes hard to express like, and to talk about certain things, especially about my own community, about my own experiences without feeling alone. A lot of times when I would talk about certain things with my friends, they just looked at me like they had no idea what I was talking about. And so, especially growing up, I think later on, and I think with social media and TikTok and like Instagram and everything, this is why like I'm actually a huge in favor of social media. Like, you don't feel as alone versus like when you go to school, and again, just depending on where you grow up and everything, you are kind of alone. So just kind of seeing this movie, I'm like, I feel seen, and I'm like, it's taken almost what 24 years in this country. No, actually, that's a lie, because I am 24, but I have been here since I was 21. So since I was 3, so 21 years in this country to finally feel like I can breathe, and to finally feel like, oh my gosh, this is a story that I feel like a lot of us need to be told. Like, instead of just seeing it in the news, instead of just seeing it as a kind of like in a newspaper article or whatever, I'm like, finally a story, and I'm like, we are not alone. And so it was just beautiful and just so so I love that. And weirdly enough, again, I understand, like, Lin-Manuel, like, if you know who he is, like, he's like, I've always like the main reason why he decided to write, like, to, you know, write plays and to, you know, create musicals, because he's like, I've always wanted to be in musicals myself, but a lot of the characters I have to play are very minor characters, and I want to be the titular characters. I want to be the main person, which is why, like, Hamilton, like, it's purposefully, like, they purposefully cast minorities for that reason, because they're like, we want to give people who normally don't have a chance in Broadway a chance, and this is what we're trying to do. So I thought it was just amazing that that he wrote this, and again, it's a musical, but for me, this story, for me, I think it would have been better told if it wasn't a musical. Like, I know that it was like, it like, because again, another thing about it is it lightens the tone a little bit, especially again coming from, like, and I don't know, maybe it is a good thing, maybe it should be a good thing, maybe we should lighten the tone, maybe we should show it in this kind of, like, I don't know how to say it, because the first word that comes to mind, like, Disney-esque, like, it's the first words that come to mind, like a Disney-esque version versus like in a more serious tone, because maybe I'm like, maybe more people won't want to see the seriousness of it all. And at the end of the day, the play itself is very hopeful. Like, again, I tell you guys, I'm like, we don't know where Sunny, like, what the future for Sunny is. Like, we kind of have an idea, like, we have a plan for Sunny. We're like, again, he's an illegal immigrant, and we get a plan for him, but we don't know what his future is going to be, which is a reality. But it's also nice that it was like, you know, you feel a little hopeful, which I think is the purpose of it. Again, with everything going on politically, again, if you are aware of, like, the political climate for immigrants right now and everything going on, you're going to be like, it's not the best, but it's a logical stepping stone to where we are. So on behalf of this, like, Latina who grew up in this community, this immigrant Latina, I just want to say thank you so much for, I think it's Warner Brothers who made this movie. Thank you so much to Lin-Manuel Miranda, who just wrote this, and, like, I don't know, hopefully younger generations won't feel so alone, and unlike me, won't have to wait 21 years to feel like, I can breathe just a little bit more. So yes, and that's about it. And so, love the movie. Hopefully that gives you into better context about everything of the movie. And yeah. Alright, you guys, thank you so much for watching Resident Evil channel, and hope you guys for watching Resident Evil channel. Let me know if there's any other type of content that you want me to do. And yeah, in the heights, dun 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 dun.